What's up, everybody? Welcome back. TGIF. Again, it's another Friday, another video. Today is October 28th, 2022, which means it is the start of Magic's 30th year anniversary celebration in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's right, it's time to get back to the gathering. I'm not there, but I did bring my old school playmat from GP Vegas 2019. So it's like we're in Vegas. And one of the other things they're doing this year to celebrate the 30th anniversary is re-releasing a special collector's set. So we're gonna turn on our wave sounds to let's revisit the shores of imagination, to coin a phrase Wizards used back in the 90s. So it's 30th anniversary. Cards were first released in 1993. Next year is 2023, so technically next year is the 30th anniversary. And at the end of this year, they're coming out with special 30th anniversary booster packs. We received, we're gonna open one of these packs today. We got unspecial from Wizards, so we're gonna open it up and see what we get inside. I'm just kidding. This is just a printout of what the packs look like, but you will get 15 cards in a pack. I think they come in a box of 4 packs, and the controversy is that the boxes cost $1,000, so it's $250 per pack for 60 random cards. Is basically the reprint of the beta set with more modern frames, a retro frame, which is not the original vintage frame, but it's a more retro frame, and the more modern frames as well. So some collectors will try to get those cards. That's great if people want those. I'm undecided if I need any of those cards at the moment. But it does remind me of another time that Wizards of the Coast had reprinted cards for special collector commemorative purposes. And I'm thinking of the World Championship decks. So I did a quick Google on the Magic wiki page and was trying to think, how many decks did they make? Because I knew they made a few of them, and turns out they released World Championship decks for 8 years. They started in 1997 after the 97 World Championships, I believe, and I think the top 8 players got their decks reprinted with gold borders. They had 60 card decks plus a 15 card sideboard, and then they came with some blank cards and some player info cards. And so they did this for 8 years and made these kind of like pre-constructed fat decks for fans and players. And I recall seeing some of these at the time. I picked up some more of them recently, which is what I thought I'd kind of show today as well. Someone asked Mark Rosewater in my research why the gold bordered World Championship decks were no longer made. They recalled liking them and thinking that they were good, and Mark said that they stopped doing the World Championship decks for the number one reason that they stopped doing any product, which is bad sales. So not enough people bought them. So I think that will be the fate of the 30th anniversary edition packs. If nobody buys them, then Wizards will stop selling them and people can move on and collect the next thing that they come out with. But this video today is brought to you by BCW. I wish. If anybody out there works for BCW and wants to sponsor this channel and send me some white cardboard boxes, I'd be appreciative. I go through these like crazy for shipping out orders and storing collections. But in this box is where I have some of those aforementioned Magic the Gathering, New York City, February 1996 inaugural tournament. Pro Tour cards, World Championship deck reprints. If you look at these are, exact reprints of 4th edition cards with the same copyright. They have a sort of a stamp printed on the card of the player's signature who was using that deck. I don't have any of the boxes. I tried to make a deck of myself with cards that I played with in my old school decks. So this is kind of like an example of a 40 card deck that I thought maybe would make an interesting, casual deck. Essentially, the gold borders are not tournament legal. In some local play groups, they can be used as proxies. So if I find that it's a good way to sort of learn how to play new cards that you don't, without having to spend a ton of money on the original printings of the cards. Like if you wanted to play with Mishra's Factory and didn't want to spend a bunch of money on Antiquities Mishra's Factories, you can get 4th edition ones, obviously, for a little bit cheaper, but the gold border ones are also just as inexpensive. And then they have, like I said, the player's autograph stamped on there, so it's a little bit of piece of Magic history as well. What else? City of Brass is a good card. I use that in old school decks, so I figured might as well just collect a few of these extra cards that I play with regularly in my casual and competitive groups, because I like them. And I don't know if Wizards is ever going to reprint collectible commemorative cards again, and this year they are trying that out again, and we'll see how many years they continue to print anniversary edition cards. I mean, obviously they have the ability to do a 35th anniversary and a 40th anniversary and a 45th anniversary, and if any of us are still around, they can do the 50th anniversary in 15 years. So that would be a major event. These World Championships traveled every year. So in 1999, they were in Tokyo. Like I said, the decks came 60 cards, the actual player's 60 card deck, reprinted in gold border with their signature on it. It came with the sideboard, 15 card sideboard that they had, and they had also 12 of these championship blank cards. And the idea was like if you bought a pre-constructed championship deck and wanted to like change one of the cards in the championship deck and put in one of your cards that you like playing, you could write the name of the card and the casting costs, do a little image if you wanted to, and then the card text, and use this as a proxy card. Collectors also figured out you could take these to the artists and have the artists do a little sketch on these, so that became also very popular as collectors wanted to get sketch cards. And some players use those sketch cards as proxies in their casual decks. So I have a few of these too. I think I will dig them out and maybe show you on a video what some of the artist sketch cards look like on gold bordered World Championship cards. I think they're pretty cool. The decks also came with, these were from Brussels in 2000, this World Championship deck. This was a John Finkel deck, and the decks came with a biography of the world champion and a breakdown, like a deck list of the 60 cards that they had in their deck plus the sideboard. So as you can see, John's deck was called Tinker. In my video from yesterday, I showed you some signed cards I had. I had some signed gold bordered Tinker cards that John Finkel signed, and this was the deck list card and the biography card that they included in each of those World Championship decks. with the player's autograph on the card too. So that was what's included. These are just some of the cards that I've collected with gold borders over the years. They're great for casual. Like I said, I don't know if Wizards they'll never change their position on tournament legal cards, but they also don't really organize as many in-person tournaments anymore. Again, it seems like the arena online tournaments is the way for them to go to remain profitable, because it's a lot of time and energy to organize in-person events, especially during COVID and a pandemic. So post-pandemic, we'll see how many in-person events happen, but I just have all these just because I think that it was a time of Magic where they were really popular in the late 90s, and they were, unable to make new cards as fast as they could. So reprinting some of the more successful decks was a way to sell product, and fans liked them for about 8 years. And then they I think Magic figured out how to make more cards, more new sets. About 2000, that was about 2004, 5. That's when they started making a ton of new sets. And obviously players didn't need the old cards, they just needed newer cards to make newer decks. So I would kind of go for maybe like 16 to 20 copies of the cards that I played with regularly. So you have Balance, COP Red, City of Brass. I'll just show you some of these cards so you can kind of see what the championship cards look like. City of Brass. These are mainly from New York City, Seattle, Counterspell, Disenchant, Divine Offering, which I like to get signed. Felwar Stone is a good card. Produces mana, Fireball, some pretty iconic cards here, and then a ton of basic lands. I thought, a lot of the vintage players, casual old school players like to use the original arts when they're making decks. So we have some reprinted forests with the different arts on them. What else do we have? Some Icy Manipulator reprinted from Ice Age. I use that card a lot in Alpha with the Alpha art printing on it. Basic Islands, there's a lot of all three variations of the art, I believe, are reprinted here in gold border. One thing, like the collector's edition, I have a friend that collects the collector's edition cards that have the square corners and the gold borders. And from a collecting standpoint, the condition is very sensitive on gold bordered cards because it kind of wears off easily. So if if these cards are meant to be played with as proxies, for example, and you're not playing them in sleeves, especially back in like the late 90s, nobody was really using sleeves a lot. The condition of these gold bordered cards gets affected negatively pretty quickly. So I thought I'd grab a few of these in nice condition and just hang on to them until there was a need or a market interest for these gold bordered cards. Maybe there'd be some sort of reprinting where nostalgia kicks in and people wanted to play with the gold bordered cards, or maybe Wizards allowed gold bordered cards as long as they were printed by Wizards of the Coast in tournaments. I'm not quite sure if that would ever happen, but certainly for casual play, if you want to just build a deck of cards that you grew up playing with, this would be the way to go. This is what I envision as maybe make a cube out of this, or you could make some sort of draft packs with this and just draft it with your friends. I don't know. What do you think? Does anyone else collect World Championship cards out there? Is this too many? Do I need to just focus on single cards? Or does anyone collect all the different decks? I know the sealed decks probably still retain some value, But you know, this was a way to sort of learn how to get better at playing some of these cards in a casual setting. Strip mine is good. There's some basic swamps. And I think last in the is Swords of Plowshares is the last card in the box. But yeah, that's a couple hundred gold bordered cards. I would say is an interesting time in Magic's history when they were reprinting cards. I don't think any of these cards are on the reserve list, so they certainly could be reprinted by Wizards. But the new 30th anniversary set does raise some questions about, you know, whether it's ethical for Wizards to reprint cards that they said they wouldn't reprint, even if it's just for collectible nostalgia purposes. But that's my video. I hope anybody that is at GP, I guess it's not the GP Vegas, but it's the Magic 30th anniversary in Vegas. I hope you have safe travels and that you have a good weekend down there. You know, hopefully you're playing a lot of Magic, meeting a lot of the artists and other players, and going to the events and just having a good time and appreciating the game for all the positive things it does to bring people together from around the world. And I had a great time kind of going through this box, showing you what all the gold border cards were about. And, you know, who knows, maybe they'll be, you know, maybe these will be reprinted in 15 years for the Magic's 50th anniversary. So, all right, that's my video for Friday. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. I will catch you in the next video, and I think I'll show you some of the blank altered cards that can be used as proxies. That's a very common use for some of these gold bordered cards. So, all right, thanks again for watching. If you like this content, feel free to subscribe, give this video a like, or put a comment or question down below, and I will be happy to respond. Have a great weekend.